In this video, I'm going to try and explain some of the problems you could run into if you install plywood siding over existing plywood siding. And it could actually create a moisture barrier or something that would trap the moisture underneath the new siding and into the existing siding. So let's go ahead and start with what it would look like. Originally, we would have plywood siding over the moisture barrier. Some of you guys are going to use building paper. Some of you are going to use Tyvek, this type of a product. Now, the moisture barrier, it is not a waterproof product. It is a water-resistant product, and I've done plenty of videos on this. Your building supposedly needs to allow air and moisture to travel through the walls. So through the wall framing, you need, the moisture cannot get trapped in between any parts of the wall, exterior on the interior. If it does, usually end up with mold, and of course it's a good reason why this is water resistant and not waterproof. If it was plastic, for example, this would be more of something that would be waterproof. You would end up trapping water in between the walls somewhere. You would end up with condensation or moisture would actually form on the plastic, and obviously gravity would pull it down. But it's understandable that the plastic, if it was plastic, you're going to have more moisture that could absorb into the wood or the stucco and eventually create problems. So this is a water resistant moisture barrier, not a waterproof. I got to drive that home, because the minute that we add the plywood over it, we have a moisture barrier, and then when we paint the plywood, this provides us with another moisture barrier. So the paint on top of the existing plywood provides us with a moisture barrier. This provides us with a moisture barrier. Now, the biggest problem I'm having with this, the biggest problem I think that you're going to encounter if you're going to install plywood over existing plywood would be whether or not to install a moisture barrier or not to install one, because how many moisture barriers are you going to have? So let's take a look at, we have one here. Once we paint the siding, we're going to have a moisture barrier. Then if we were to install Tyvek or some type of a building paper, we're going to have a third moisture barrier. And then, of course, when we paint the T111, we're going to have 4 moisture barriers. This won't be a problem, in my opinion, as long as the air and moisture can still travel through the wall. I don't think it's going to be a big problem. And I really don't think I can provide you with a good answer for this. If I was going to install plywood siding over plywood siding, I think I wouldn't put the moisture barrier on. We already have a moisture barrier here. And then the wood, if it's painted, then you have a moisture barrier. If it's stained, if you have the plywood is stained and the water can absorb into it, then why not put a moisture barrier on there? But if it's painted, I don't think I would. And again, remember, this is just my opinion. This is not I'm not providing you with facts here, because I don't really have it. I'm just providing you with some information about the reasons why you might not want to put an additional moisture barrier on, and why you would. So let me make that clear. If it's painted, the existing plywood is siding, that's kind of like another moisture barrier. If you put the plywood over the painted siding, and any moisture that gets behind the plywood hopefully is going to work its way down, and the grooves on the T111 are going to allow more air to flow through and out. So this would be kind of like an air channel. it would allow it. Now, again, this you're not going to have this if you're not using grooved plywood. You're going to have if you're just using plywood over plywood, this wouldn't make any sense. So I think that this is going to help eliminate moisture as long as we don't plug it up at the bottom, as long as somebody doesn't go and fill these areas with caulking. So this is kind of it, I think, for the information that I have on the plywood. I've heard, I did some research, and some of the people are saying that you can use Tyvek. Tyvek is a product that allows air to flow through it a little easier than the building paper. And I'm not exactly sure on that. That's the reason why I don't want to commit to this and just throw this out there and provide you with my opinion. So if this person's right and the Tyvek produces an excellent, it allows the water to repel. It repels water, and of course it allows air to flow through it with moisture, then that would be the way to go. You have your building paper, a painted plywood, apply the Tyvek, and then the siding. So I can't really hammer down and tell you what you would need to do on this, but hopefully this helps a little bit. And if it does, don't forget to hit the old thumbs up button. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment area, and I will try to answer them as soon as possible.